The lab was 2 miles underground. It had no windows. No doors that opened from the outside. The only way in was a small elevator that needed 3 different keys and a voice code. The humans who worked there called it the hole. They did not mean it as a joke. It was just a hole in the ground, a dark, quiet place where they could ask questions without anyone bothering them. Dr. Myra-sen had been in the hole for 3 days. She had not slept much. Her hair was a mess. Her shirt had a coffee stain on the sleeve. But her eyes were sharp. Her hands were steady. She was ready. Experiment number 47 was simple. At least, it sounded simple. She wanted to entangle 2 million particles at once. Quantum entanglement was an old idea. 2 particles touch each other. Then they separate. No matter how far apart they go, they stay connected. If you spin one left, the other spins right. Instantly. Even if they are on opposite sides of the universe. The aliens had known about entanglement for thousands of years. They had used it for secure communication and quantum computers. But they had never tried to entangle more than a few thousand particles at once. Every time they tried, the connection broke. The particles got confused. The experiment failed. Dr. Sen thought she knew why. She thought the aliens were being too careful. They treated entanglement like a weak thread that could snap. She treated it like a muscle that could grow stronger with exercise. She had spent 10 years building a machine that could entangle particles in a new way. Not one by one. All at once. Like dropping a stone into a pond and watching the ripples spread. The machine was called the HFY-47. It filled one whole room of the hole. It looked like a giant metal donut covered in wires and lights. Inside the donut, 2 million particles waited. They were cold. Almost as cold as space. They were still. Almost completely still. They were ready. Dr. Sen stood at the control panel. Around her, 5 other scientists worked at their own screens. They were young. They were tired. They were excited. This was the biggest human quantum experiment in history. And no one outside the hole even knew about it. That was how humans liked to work. Quietly. Slowly. Carefully. They had joined the galactic community only 20 years ago. The other species were older. Smarter. More advanced. They had faster ships and better weapons and longer histories. Humans were the new kids. The young ones. The small ones. Most aliens did not even notice them. When they did, they smiled and nodded and said nice things. But they did not pay attention. Human science was cute. Human technology was simple. Human questions were the questions that everyone had already answered. Except this one. No one had answered this one. The chamber is ready, said a young scientist named Leo. His voice was quiet. He did not want to break the concentration in the room. Dr. Sen looked at her screen. 2 million green dots glowed softly. Each dot was a particle. Each particle was waiting. She took a breath. Begin the entanglement sequence, she said. Leo pressed a button. A low hum filled the room. The HFY-47 glowed blue. The 2 million particles began to move. They spun. They danced. They reached out to each other like strangers at a party. One by one, they found partners. Then groups. Then clusters. The green dots on Dr. Sen's screen began to connect. Lines formed between them. A web. A net. A blanket of connection. Dr. Sen held her breath. This was the moment where the alien experiments had always failed. The connections would break. The particles would panic. The web would fall apart. But the web did not fall apart. It held. The green lines grew brighter. The connections grew stronger. 2 million particles. All entangled. All moving together. All speaking the same silent language. The room went silent. Even the machines seemed to stop humming. Everyone stared at the screen. 2 million green dots. Connected. Complete. We did it, Leo whispered. We actually did it. Dr. Sen did not smile. She felt something strange. A feeling in her chest. A pressure. Like the room had gotten smaller. Like something was watching. She looked at her screen again. The green dots were still there. Still connected. Still quiet. But something had changed. She could feel it. She just could not name it. Run a diagnostic, she said. Her voice was calm. But her hands were shaking. Leo ran the diagnostic. He looked at his screen. His face went pale. Dr. Sen, he said. The entanglement did not stop at 2 million particles. What do you mean? Leo turned his screen so she could see. The numbers were wrong. The experiment had entangled 2 million particles. But the connections had not stopped there. They had spread. From the 2 million particles to other particles. From those particles to more particles. Like a chain reaction. Like a wave. We have entangled everything, Leo said. The machine is connected to every particle in this room. In this building. In this city. I do not know where it stops. Dr. Sen stared at the screen. 2 million had become 2 billion. 2 billion had become 2 trillion. The numbers were climbing too fast to read. Outside, in the darkness of space, the first alien senses began to flicker. Something had happened. Something big. Something impossible. The galaxy was about to wake up. And Dr. Myra Sen, in her quiet lab 2 miles underground, had no idea what she had just done. For 1 second, nothing happened. The QE-47 hummed. The green dots on the screen glowed. 2 million particles remained entangled. The room was quiet. Dr. Myra Sen let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. She turned to Leo to say something. Anything. But before she could speak, the sensors went wild. Every screen in the lab flashed white. Then blue. Then red. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. The machines began to shake. Leo grabbed his desk to keep from falling. Another scientist, a young woman named Kayla, shouted over the noise. The entanglement pulse. It did not stop. It is spreading. Dr. Sen looked at her main screen. The numbers were impossible. 2 million particles had become 200 million. Then 2 billion. Then 2 trillion. The connections were not stopping at Earth. They were spreading into space. Into the solar system. Into the galaxy. The pulse was traveling faster than light. Much faster. It was everywhere at once. And then the pulse reached the aliens. On the Xylo's home world, a scientist named Orin was drinking his morning tea. He was old. He had seen many things in his 600 years. He thought nothing could surprise him anymore. Then his quantum sensor flickered. He set down his tea. He walked to the screen. The screen showed a pulse. A single, clear signal. It was not noise. It was not static. It was something else. Something that looked like a question. But a question from where? A question from whom? Orin ran the numbers. The pulse had not come from any known source. It had not come from a ship or a station or a planet. It had come from everywhere. From the empty space between stars. From the dust clouds and the dark voids. From the fabric of reality itself. The universe had asked a question. And no one knew the answer. Orin picked up his communicator. His voice was steady, but his hands were not. Call the council, he said. Emergency session. Now. On the KRYLL Dominion worlds, the reaction was faster and louder. The KRYLL were warriors. They did not ask questions. They prepared for battle. When their quantum sensors detected the pulse, they did not try to understand it. They assumed it was an attack. Within 10 minutes, every KRYLL fleet was on high alert. Ships moved into formation. Weapons were armed. Generals shouted orders across 1,000 worlds. The enemy was unknown. The weapon was unknown. But the KRYLL would be ready. The Xanan collective reacted differently. The Xanan were thinkers. They were quiet and patient. When their senses detected the pulse, they did not panic. They did not prepare for war. They simply went silent. No communications left Xanan space. No ships moved. No voices spoke. The collective was thinking. The collective was afraid. And the collective did not want anyone to know. Other species reacted in other ways. Some hid. Some prayed. Some sent messages to the far edges of the galaxy, begging for answers. But no one had answers. The pulse had come from nowhere. It had come from everywhere. And it had asked a question that no one could understand. Back on Earth, in the hidden lab 2 miles underground, Dr. Myra Sen was trying to understand what had happened. She had not meant to send a pulse across the galaxy. She had not meant to scare anyone. She had just wanted to entangle 2 million particles. That was all. But the universe had other plans. The pulse is fading, Kayla said. Her voice was tired. Sensors are returning to normal. Dr. Sen looked at her screen. The green dots were still there. Still connected. But the wave had passed. The galaxy was quiet again. For now. We need to tell someone, Leo said. The galactic community. They need to know this was an accident. We did not mean to. Dr. Sen shook her head. We do not know what we meant to do. We do not know what we did. We cannot explain something we do not understand. Leo opened his mouth to argue. Then his communicator beeped. He looked at the screen. His face went pale again. Dr. Sen, he said. We have 4 to 7 messages from the Xylos Federation, 12 from the KRYLL Dominion, 8 from the Xanan Collective. They all want to know the same thing. What? Dr. Sen asked. Leo turned his communicator so she could see. The screen showed a single question, repeated in a dozen different languages. What was that? What did you do? Dr. Sen stared at the screen. She did not know how to answer. She did not know what she had done. She only knew that the galaxy was watching now. And the galaxy was afraid. Outside, in the darkness between stars, the pulse had stopped spreading. But something else had started. A silence. A waiting. The universe had asked a question. And now, everyone was waiting for the answer. Including the universe itself. The first alien ships arrived 12 hours after the pulse. They came from every direction. Xylos cruisers. KRYLL destroyers. Xanan probes. Even small ships from species that Dr. Sen had never heard of. They filled the sky above the hole like angry stars. The humans on the surface looked up and felt afraid. They did not know what was happening. They only knew that something had changed. Dr. Sen watched the ships on a small screen in her lab. She had not slept. She had not eaten. She had just stared at the green dots, still connected, still quiet, still waiting. Leo sat beside her. Kayla paced the floor. The other scientists huddled around their screens, pretending to work but really just waiting for the doors to open. The doors opened at noon. A team of Xylos scientists walked in first. They were tall and blue and angry. Their leader was an old scientist named Oren. He had been the first to detect the pulse. He had not slept either. His eyes were red. His voice was sharp. Dr. Mara Sen, he said. You will explain what you have done. Dr. Sen stood up. She was tired. She was scared. But she did not show it. We conducted a quantum entanglement experiment, she said. We entangled 2 million particles. That is all. We did not mean to send a signal. We did not even know we could. Oren stared at her. His blue face showed nothing. You expect me to believe that a primitive species accidentally sent a pulse across the galaxy? A pulse that every quantum sensor detected. A pulse that looked like a question. Yes, Dr. Sen said. Because that is what happened. Oren did not believe her. He ordered his team to scan the lab. They brought machines that could detect hidden weapons, secret power sources, anything dangerous. They scanned every wall, every wire, every piece of equipment. They found nothing. Just the QE-47. Just the 2 million entangled particles. Just a confused human scientist and her tired team. The KRYLL arrived next. They were shorter than the Xylos, wider, harder. Their leader was a general named Vex. He did not ask questions. He made demands. You will shut down this experiment immediately, he said. You will hand over all your data. You will submit to inspection by KRYLL military officers. Dr. Sen shook her head. No. This is a human facility. Human science. Human questions. You do not have the right. General Vex stepped closer. His voice was low. You caused a galaxy-wide panic. You do not have the right to refuse. The room went silent. The humans and the aliens stood facing each other. No one moved. No one spoke. Then a small voice broke the silence. Excuse me. Everyone turned. A young Xanan researcher stood in the corner. She was small and gray and quiet. She had been examining the data from the pulse. Her name was Seri. No one had noticed her come in. Excuse me, she said again. I think I found something. Oren walked to her screen. General Vex followed. Dr. Sen pushed through the crowd. She looked at the screen. Seri had pulled up the pulse data. The wave. The question. The thing that had scared the galaxy. The pulse did not come from the experiment, Seri said. The experiment started it, but the pulse itself came from somewhere else. Where? Oren asked. Seri pointed to the screen. Everywhere. The pulse did not travel from Earth to the rest of the galaxy. It was already there. Everywhere. All at once. The experiment did not send a signal. It opened a door, and something on the other side answered. The room was very quiet. Dr. Sen felt her heart beat faster. What do you mean? Answered. Seri pulled up another screen. This one showed the shape of the pulse. Not random noise. Not static. A pattern. A clear, repeating pattern. It looked like a wave. But it also looked like words. Like language. Like someone saying hello. The universe answered, Seri said. We asked a question. We did not mean to. But we asked. And the universe heard us. And the universe answered. General Vex stepped back. His hard face showed something new. Fear. That is not possible. The universe is not alive. It does not answer. Sari looked at him. Her gray eyes were calm. The universe is full of quantum connections. We have known that for thousands of years. But we always thought the connections were silent. Dead. Just math. But what if they are not dead? What if they are just waiting? Waiting for someone to ask the right question. Dr. Sen sat down. Her legs had given out. She looked at the green dots on her screen. 2 million particles. Still connected. Still quiet. But not dead. Never dead. She had felt it. In the moment the pulse spread. Something had been there. Something old. Something big. Something that had been waiting. We need to do it again, she said. Oren stared at her. Are you insane? The first pulse caused a galaxy-wide panic. A second pulse could cause something worse. Dr. Sen stood up. Her voice was steady now. The universe answered us. It said something. We do not know what. We need to ask again. We need to listen. General Vex shook his head. No. The KRYLL Dominion will not allow it. This is too dangerous. Dr. Sen looked at him. She looked at Oren. She looked at Sari. She looked at her team. Then she looked at the green dots on her screen. You came here because you were afraid, she said. You accused us of building a weapon. You demanded answers. Now you have your answer. The universe is not silent. It has been waiting. And we are the first ones to hear it. You cannot shut that down. You cannot hide from it. The question is already out there. The only choice is whether we listen to the answer. No one spoke. The alien scientists looked at each other. The human scientists looked at Dr. Senator. The green dots glowed softly on the screen. Somewhere, across the galaxy, the universe waited. And Dr. Myra Sen knew what she had to do next. Dr. Myra Sen sat alone in the dark. The lights in the lab were off. The screens were dark. The only sound was the soft hum of the QE-47, still running, still holding 2 million particles in perfect connection. She had sent everyone away. Leo, Kayla, even the alien scientists. She needed to think. The pulse had happened 3 days ago. The galaxy was still panicking. Ships still filled the sky above Earth. Leaders still demanded answers. But Dr. Sen had stopped listening to them. She was listening to something else. Something older. Something bigger. She closed her eyes and thought about the web. The quantum connections. Every particle connected to every other particle. The aliens had known about this for thousands of years. They had used it for communication and computing. But they had never asked the big question. They had never asked what the web actually was. They had treated it like a tool. A dead thing. A piece of math. But Dr. Sen had always wondered. What if the web was alive? What if the connections were not just lines on a screen? What if they were voices? Quiet voices. Whispering voices. Voices that had been whispering since the beginning of time. The experiment had not created the pulse. The pulse was already there. The experiment had just turned up the volume. For 1 second, the galaxy had heard what the universe had been saying all along. Dr. Sen opened her eyes. She picked up her notebook. She wrote 2 words. Universal quantum handshake. She looked at the words. They felt right. The pulse was not a weapon. It was not a mistake. It was a greeting. The universe had been holding out its hand for billions of years. Waiting. Waiting for someone to reach back. And humans, the young ones, the small ones, the harmless ones, had been the first to take the hand. She called everyone back to the lab. They came quickly. Humans and aliens together. Oren the Xylos scientist. General Vex the KRYLL warrior. Sari the Xanan researcher. Leo and Kayla and the rest of her team. They filled the room. They looked tired and scared and confused. Dr. Sen stood at the front of the room. She held her notebook. Her voice was quiet but clear. I know what happened, she said. And I know why the aliens never saw it. She walked to the main screen. She pulled up an image of the quantum web. Millions of lines. Millions of connections. A net that covered the whole universe. The aliens never tried to entangle enough particles at once, she said. They stopped at a few thousand. Their experiments were too small. Too careful. They were afraid of breaking the connection. But humans are not careful. We are curious. We are reckless. We asked what would happen if we entangled 2 million particles at once. And the universe answered. Oren stepped forward. Answered what? What did the universe say? Dr. Sen pulled up another image. The shape of the pulse. The pattern. The wave that looked like words. The universe said hello, she said. It has been saying hello for billions of years. Every quantum connection. Every entangled particle. It is all one long, endless greeting. We just could not hear it before. Our ears were too small. Our questions were too quiet. But when we entangled 2 million particles, we finally made enough noise to hear the answer. The room was silent. General Vex crossed his arms. You are saying the universe is alive. Dr. Sen shook her head. I do not know if alive is the right word. But it is not dead. It is not silent. It is full of connections. Full of patterns. Full of something that looks like language. The aliens never saw it because they never looked. They had the technology. They had the knowledge. But they did not have the curiosity. They accepted that the quantum web was just math. They never asked what the math meant. Seri, the young Xanan researcher, raised her hand. Her gray eyes were wide. But humans asked. Yes, Dr. Sen said. Humans asked. We have been asking for thousands of years. We asked why the apple falls. We asked where the stars come from. We asked what happens inside a black hole. We never stop asking. And this time, the universe answered. She turned back to the screen. She pointed to the pattern. The wave. The greeting. This is not a weapon. This is not a threat. This is a handshake. The universe has been holding out its hand since the first star was born. And we are the first ones to take it. Oren sat down. His blue face was pale. We could have done this, he said. The Xylos. We had the technology. We had the knowledge. We could have been the first. But we were too afraid. Too careful. We never asked the big questions. Dr. Sen nodded. That is the difference between us. You wanted answers that were safe. We wanted answers that were true. Even if the truth was strange. Even if the truth was scary. General Vex uncrossed his arms. His hard face had softened. What happens now? The galaxy is afraid. They will not want you to continue. Dr. Sen looked at the QE-47. The machine hummed softly. The green dots glowed. The galaxy does not get a choice, she said. The universe already answered. We cannot put the handshake back in the box. The only question is whether we listen to what comes next. She walked to the control panel. She placed her hand on the button. Experiment number 48 was already forming in her mind. Not a pulse this time. A message. A real message. Words. Questions. A conversation. The universe said hello, she said. Now it is our turn to say something back. No one stopped her. No one spoke. The aliens watched. The humans watched. The green dots glowed. And Dr. Myra Sen smiled. The universe was waiting. And she had so many questions to ask. The galaxy demanded that humans stop. The Xylos Federation sent an official order. The KRYLL Dominion issued a warning. The Xanan Collective voted to cut all ties with Earth if the experiments continued. Even small species that had no power and no voice, sent messages begging humans to stop. They were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too strange. Dr. Myra Sen read each message. She read them all. Then she set down her communicator and walked to the QE-47. The machine was ready. The 2 million particles were still entangled. The green dots still glowed. She had not turned it off. She would never turn it off. Leo stood behind her. His face was worried. Dr. Sen, the whole galaxy is against us. If we run another experiment, we could start a war. Dr. Sen did not turn around. The universe spoke to us, Leo. It said hello. And we did not answer. Do you know how long we have been waiting for that? 1,000 years. 10,000. Every human who ever looked at the stars and wondered if anyone was out there. Every child who asked if we are alone. Every scientist who searched for a signal in the static. They were all waiting for this moment. And now we have it. And you want to stop because the galaxy is afraid. Leo said nothing. He knew she was right. Dr. Sen placed her hand on the control panel. Experiment number 48, she said. This time, we do not just listen. We send a message. She typed the words herself. Simple words. Human words. The words that every lonely person had ever wanted to send into the dark. Hello. We are here. We want to learn. She pressed the button. The QE-47 hummed. The green dots flashed. The pulse spread. Faster than light. Faster than thought. Across the solar system. Across the galaxy. Across the universe. The same pulse as before, but different now. This time, it carried a message. A question wrapped in words. A hand reaching out. Then nothing. The galaxy waited. 1 day passed. 2 days. 3 days. The alien leaders began to relax. The Xylos cancelled their emergency session. The KRYLL stood down their fleets. The Xanan broke their silence. Nothing had happened. The humans had tried again. And nothing had happened. The universe was silent after all. On the 4th day, everything changed. It started with a flicker. A single quantum sensor on a single Xylos research station. The sensor blinked. Then it screamed. A pulse had returned. Not from Earth. Not from any known source. From everywhere. From the space between stars. From the dust and the dark. From the web itself. The pulse was not random noise. It was not static. It was a pattern. A clear, repeating pattern. It looked like waves. It looked like symbols. It looked like language. The Xylos saw it. The KRYLL saw it. The Xanan saw it. Every species with a quantum sensor saw the same thing. The universe had answered. And the answer was not hello. It was something else. Something longer. Something that looked like a sentence. The galaxy panicked again. Harder this time. Ships that had just landed took off again. Leaders who had just gone to sleep woke up screaming. The Xylos called another emergency session. The KRYLL armed every weapon. The Xanan went silent again, deeper this time, like animals hiding from a storm. But Dr. Myra Sen did not panic. She sat in her lab, 2 miles underground, and watched the pattern on her screen. She watched it repeat, over and over. The same shapes. The same waves. The same symbols. It is language, she whispered. Real language. Leo stood beside her. His hands were shaking. What does it say? Dr. Sen shook her head. I do not know. Not yet. It will take years to translate. Maybe longer. But it says something. It is not random. It is not noise. Something out there is talking to us. The doors to the lab opened. Oren walked in. Then General Vex. Then Seri. Then a dozen other alien leaders. They filled the room. They looked at the screen. They looked at the pattern. They looked at Dr. Sen. This must stop, Oren said. His voice was hard. You have gone too far. The universe is answering. We do not know what it wants. We do not know if it is friendly. You cannot continue. Dr. Sen stood up. She turned to face them. Her eyes were bright. Her voice was calm. We are not alone, she said. Whatever is out there, it has been waiting for us to ask the right question. And we finally asked. We cannot stop now. We cannot hide. The universe knows we are here. The only choice is whether we keep talking or run away and pretend this never happened. General Vex stepped forward. His face was red with anger. You do not speak for the galaxy. You are one species. One small, young, reckless species. You do not have the right to speak for all of us. Dr. Sen smiled. It was not a mean smile. It was a tired smile. A human smile. You are right, she said. I do not speak for the galaxy. I speak for humans. And humans do not stop asking questions. We never have. We never will. You can order us to stop. You can threaten us with war. You can cut all ties and leave us alone. But we will keep asking. Because that is what we do. That is who we are. The room was silent. The alien leaders looked at each other. They looked at the screen. The pattern was still there. Still repeating. Still waiting for an answer. Dr. Sen turned back to the QE-47. She placed her hand on the control panel. Experiment number 49, she said. We translate the message. And then we send another one. And another. And another. Until we understand. Until we are not alone anymore. Leo stepped up beside her. Then Kayla. Then the other human scientists. They stood together. Small. Young. Reckless. Curious. The alien leaders watched. They did not stop her. They could not stop her. The humans had already done the impossible. They had made the universe talk back. And now, they were going to answer. Dr. Myra Sen looked at the green dots on her screen. 2 million particles. Still connected. Still waiting. She thought about the message. The pattern. The language from the stars. She did not know what it meant. But she knew one thing for certain. The universe was not empty. It was full of voices. And humans had finally learned to listen. She pressed the button. The QE-47 hummed. The green dots flashed. The pulse spread. And somewhere, in the dark between stars, something old and patient and vast heard the sound and leaned closer. The conversation had begun.